Welcome. Today we're going to really learn the concept of graphing a line given a slope and given a point. Now, as we do this, the first thing I want to make sure I emphasize is the point. The first value is always x. The second value is always y. So when you go to graph the point, what you do is you move on the x-axis the first number's value, and then you move on the y-axis the second number's value. This one here happens to be 0, 0, so I move to the right 0, which means I'm going to be right here on the x-axis. I'm going to move up 0, which means I'm going to put right here on the y-axis. So my point is right there. From the point, I need to graph a line, and as you notice, it lets me move this second point around. Now I'm going to use the slope. Now the slope says that I am going to go up 1 and over 6, because remember, slope is rise over run. Now, one thing I want to emphasize about slope is we got to take into account whether it being positive or negative. If it's a positive slope, you always just visually in my mind, I picture something going uphill. I'm climbing up, going left to right. If it's a negative slope, then I'm going to be going downhill. This way is a negative slope. A negative slope is going downhill. So when you finally graphed your final line, make sure you ask yourself, did I do a positive slope going up, or did I do a negative slope going down? This 1/6 is positive. So what I like to do is I think of the rise as a positive 1 and the run as a positive 6, which means I'm going to go positive 1 means I'm going to go up, and positive 6 means I'm going to go right. So I go from here, I go up 1, and I go right 6, and I'm going to graph that point right there. So I'm going to go from this point to right there and graph that point. I'm going to clear all this excess stuff, but remember the rise and run. We're going to do some more of this in just a minute. Let's submit. Okay, so here's another one. Now look, if you'll notice, the point is a little differently. I have an x value of 0, so that means I'm going to go right to 0, which means I don't go right at all, right? I have a y value of 7. That means I'm going to go all the way up to 7. And I'm going to graph that point right here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow my slope of 1/2. It's a positive 1 over a positive 2. Positive 1 means I'm going to go up. Positive 2 means I'm going to go right. That's a G, not a Y. So I'm going to go up 1 and right 2, and I'm going to graph that point right here. Now I always ask myself, I have a positive slope. Yep, I'm going uphill. Things look good. Submit. Okay, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. So I'm hoping I can get a negative slope. So now again, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the x value of my point. That means I don't go over at all. My x value is 0. I'm going to then look at the y value of my point. My y value is 3, so I go up to 3. I'm going to graph that point right here. Now from there, I'm going to follow my slope. Now my slope is negative. So again, I'm going to do rise over run. The thing I need to make sure I realize is that I need to only make one of the two numbers negative. So in other words, since it's a negative 3/2, I could make it a negative 3 over a positive 2, or I could make it a positive 3 over a negative 2. Either one is a slope of negative 3/2. Just do not make them both negative. Now, if I choose to use this top one here, a negative 3 means I'm going to go down 3. And then a positive 2 means I'm going to go right 2. Okay, so that means from this point, I'm going to go down 3 and right 2 and graph this point right here. Now, let's say I chose to do this bottom one. If I chose to do the bottom one, the positive 3 means I'm going to go up, and the negative 2 means I'm going to go left, which is perfectly fine to go up 3 and left 2. The only problem is that's going to take me off the graph that they give me. It puts the point out here somewhere. But if you'll notice, those points, if I had done them perfect, should line up and go right through like that. So, but I'm going to use this point down here. I'm going to delete all that now. I'm going to do the down 3 and right 2 and graph that line. I want to do another one of those, so I want to make sure that you're comfortable doing pause. So now here's, they're giving us more of the grid, which is nice. So again, I'm first going to go to an x value of -8 and a y value of 1. So I'm going to go over to -8 and up to 1, and I'm going to graph that point right there. I'm actually going to put it in. So now I got to figure out, where do I go from there? Well, now I use my slope. Now my slope is a positive slope, so I'm going to do a +3 over a +8. So again, the top number is up and down. Since it's positive, I'm going to go up. The bottom number is left and right, and since it's positive, I'm going to go right. So from here, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to go right 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I put a point right there. One thing I like to do is I actually just like to make sure I went up 3 by saying if I was at 1 and I go up 3, I should end up at 4. If I'm at -8 and I go right 8, I should end up at 0, and that's where I did. Okay, now be sure to always treat slopes as fractions. So if they give you one that isn't a fraction, think of it as a fraction. Meaning all integers can be written as fractions. I would write this slope as 1 over 1. Now let's go to the point 3, which is our x value, our point 4, which is our y value. So I'm going to go over 3. I'm going to go up 4. That's that point right there. From that point, I'm going to go up 1 and right 1. Positive means up, positive means right, and I graph it and I have my line. Ooh, last one. Let's do this last one. I like this one because it's a -10 and I have a -1, 10 point. So again, x value is -1, y value is a +10. So that means I'm going to go over -1 up to +10. That's that point right there. Graph that. Now, the slope is -10. Now, treat it as a fraction. I'm going to do -10 over +1. Now, there's nothing wrong with me doing a +10 over a -1. The only issue with that is if I tried to go up from the point they gave me, it takes me off the graph. So going up would be hard, but I can go down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move down 10, and then I'm going to move right 1. But just so you know, if I could have went up 10 and left 1, it would be the same sign. So again, I highly recommend you always think, look at my slope. Is it negative? If it's negative, I need to be going downhill from left to right, and I am. If it's a positive slope, you should be going uphill. If you have questions, please bring them to class. I will absolutely help you.